All right. Hey, my friend, and welcome to this episode where we're going to talk about the secret benefit to fear. And I want to talk about kind of how fear can actually be a very positive influence in our life, in our own in evolution and really growth in our time on Earth. So, before we dive into the show, if you are looking for support and guidance and looking for help on your journey to recovery, I have some links down in the notes for you. You can also head over to restoredminds.com, and where we have several resources for you to get started. Also, if you benefit from the show, please help us out by liking, subscribing, and leaving a nice review on iTunes and Spotify. So with that, let's talk about the secret benefit of fear. So the real benefit of fear is that it helps us develop courage. Now, why is that important? Well, if you do any research and really dig into, like Dr. Hawkins' work, Dr. David Hawkins' work with his, book Letting Go, and he wrote 10 books actually, but his work on the maps of consciousness, right? And the maps of consciousness meaning simply the different levels of consciousness, or really the amount of energy we can experience as humans, and how he kind of mapped it all out from 0 to 1,000, of really zero being obviously no energy, and low emotions like shame and guilt being very low, and then high emotions like peace and love and unconditional love being very high. um and then understanding that we have all these different energetic experiences or emotional experiences that we can have in between that. Now, courage, interestingly enough, is the tipping point of the scale between when low energy, the lower energy states, things like, again, guilt, shame, depression, apathy, fear, anger, pride, desire, right? These lower emotions that tend to be dominated by the ego. The lower emotions tip into, or the energy tips from negative to positive at the level of courage. And so when you move up into courage and you actually have the courage to start feeling your emotions, start to feel what's going on in your body, learning how to confront and release things that are going on as they are, and not blaming anymore, not projecting yourself as a victim, not um, trying to medicate, not trying to escape, not trying to really make your life about trying to control your emotional experience by controlling the outside world. And you take full responsibility for it, right? The courage to do that is massive. See, most people want to stay, they unconsciously want to stay in these lower states because they're doing all the things that just keep perpetuating it, right? So when you blame everyone else for your emotional state, well, you're never going to confront the emotion. You're validating the fact that you feel this way, and you're always going to try to change people outside of you, which is never going to work. If you medicate something, right, again and again and again and again and again, it never actually confronts the actual emotion. You just suppress it for a period of time. I mean, anyone who drinks alcohol to get rid of an emotion, intuitively knows, or any substance for that matter, intuitively knows that the emotion's still going to be there once the alcohol wears off, or once the weed wears off, or once whatever you're medicating with whatever wears off. So the courage is the real tipping point where you begin to experience real growth. And what courage is really about is to have the courage to confront everything that's going on, the fear that drives a lot of your behaviors, the insecurities, the guilt that you carry around, the shame you carry around, the anger you carry around, the pride that you have about being right, the desire that you have for whatever money or whatever it is, right? It's and again, none of these things again are bad in and of themselves necessarily, but where they become damaging is when we're unconscious of them. Because when we're unconscious to what drives us, then it's essentially just running us without us knowing. And then we justify all the reasons that we do something from there. So if we're really, really angry with someone, but let's say we're unaware of the anger, or we're kind of like, not really willing to acknowledge that we're angry, well, then we're willing to usually carry out very destructive behavior, and then we'll justify it in whatever way that we can. We can always figure out a way to justify something. And this is why becoming conscious of the stuff that drives us, becoming conscious of the stuff we're carrying around, actually is the first step in allowing us to become free of it. Because by becoming aware and conscious of something, you can begin to work from a place of actually letting it go. Because you can't really let something go of that you're unaware that you're holding, you know? And this is really the benefit of fear. Is fear has this way of pushing itself to the surface, right? And fear is a mechanism that allows us to develop courage. And so every time fear surfaces, we have the option to practice courage. We have the option to take the courageous step. And the more and more we take the courageous step, the more courage we develop. The more courage we develop, the more we're willing to confront a lot of the stuff in us. And so that expands. And then the more we do that, the more we tend to release and let go of a lot of this stuff that's kind of holding us in these lower states, and then moving ourselves up the into higher states of energy. And it's not really about like ascending a ladder as much as it's, like Michael Singer in I believe one of his books or interviews gives this really good analogy of like a hot air balloon. It's you don't need to necessarily add the hot air into the balloon to make it go up. If it's already there, you don't need to add more air. A lot of times what you need to do is let go of the rocks and the weights that are holding it on the ground. If you do that, it naturally just ascends. And that seems to be what happens with us as humans, is when we actually learn to let go of the stuff that we're holding on to that's really holding us down in these lower states, we naturally move into states of neutrality, states of acceptance, states of peace, states of love. And what a lot of people try to do is they try to stack that state in there, or like, I'm going to try to be loving when they're really full of these lower emotions. And that's why the benefit of fear is that it helps you develop the courage to then use that courage to also confront and release a lot of the stuff that's holding you down, or a lot of stuff that's holding you into these lower energy states. So, yeah, I just had that thought. I wanted to share it. And again, I hope it's helpful. I hope it benefits you. And again, if you're looking for guidance and resources on your journey, please check out the links in the notes, as we have some great resources there for you. And with that, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Hey there. So if you enjoyed that video, we've linked up a few more videos that we think you'd find helpful as well. And if you have found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for help and guidance, please check out restoredminds.com, as we have several options for you to get started. See you guys soon.